While the eyes of the world remain fixed on the power transition in Washington and the front lines of Moscow, the real seismic shift has occurred quietly, almost invisibly, in Berlin. For weeks, a deal has been simmering within the corridors of European power, a financial agreement designed not just to fund the war, but to actively dismantle the foreign policy agenda of the incoming American president, Donald Trump. And now, Germany, a nation currently grappling with its own historic economic collapse, has made a decision that has left geopolitical experts stunned. Berlin has officially thrown its weight behind a massive European Union plan to arm Ukraine with financial firepower totaling nearly 210 billion euros. To call this alone is a drastic understatement. In reality, this is Europe's financial declaration of independence from the United States. But the question that every analyst in DC is asking is, why? Why is Germany, whose own government coalition has collapsed, whose legendary factories are shuttering, and whose citizens are crushed by inflation, taking such an existential risk? The answer lies in a single date fast approaching on the calendar, January 20th, 2025, the return of Donald Trump. European leaders are convinced that Trump's proposed peace plan poses a direct threat not just to Ukraine's sovereignty, but to the security architecture of the entire European continent. Consequently, Brussels and Berlin have decided to Trump-proof the war in Ukraine before the president-elect even takes the oath of office. This 210 billion euros package is effectively a massive financial shield, designed to ensure that even if the United States cuts off every cent of aid tomorrow, Kiev will possess the resources to continue its war against Russia for years. The timing of this deal is critical and desperate. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, facing a political firestorm at home, has placed a massive gamble on the international stage. His calculation is terrifyingly simple. If Vladimir Putin wins in Ukraine, the remnants of the German economic model will be annihilated. Therefore, instead of opening his own treasury doors, which are currently empty, Berlin has signed off on a risky, unprecedented financial mechanism. This money will not come directly from the pockets of German taxpayers, but from a source that strikes directly at Vladimir Putin's Achilles heel. However, the driving force behind this decision is fear of Trump. Europe believes the incoming administration will force Kiev into a deal that sacrifices territory for peace, a precedent they view as disastrous. This loan is an attempt to buy time, independence, and leverage. The anxiety that rippled through European capitals following Donald Trump's election victory has now calcified into open rebellion. Throughout his campaign, Trump repeatedly promised to end the war in 24 hours. Details of this plan, leaking through advisors and transition teams, paint a picture that Europe finds unacceptable. The proposal reportedly involves freezing the current front lines, establishing a demilitarized zone, and barring Ukraine from joining NATO for at least 20 years. For the European Union, this is not a peace plan. It is a roadmap to a Russian victory. If Putin is allowed to keep the territory he has seized, Berlin and Paris believe it is only a matter of time before his eyes turn toward Poland or the Baltic states. Germany and the EU have essentially rejected this vision before it has even been officially proposed. By backing this massive loan, Germany is sending a clear, defiant signal to Washington. We will not wait for American permission. We will design our own security. The strategy behind this 210 billion euros war chest is to strengthen Ukraine's hand at the negotiation table, ensuring they never have to bargain from a position of weakness dictated by the White House. The Trump transition team is viewing this European maneuver with deep suspicion, interpreting it as a deliberate attempt to prolong the conflict and make a quick diplomatic resolution impossible. Yet Europe felt it had no other choice. German intelligence suggests that if American aid is cut immediately upon Trump's inauguration, Ukraine's defensive lines could collapse within months. This new financial structure acts as a safety net, independent of American political volatility. However, the consequences of this rejection are grave. The transatlantic alliance, the bedrock of Western security for 80 years, is showing visible cracks. The incoming Trump administration may view this as European obstinacy, while Europe views it as a battle for survival. In this high-stakes standoff, Germany has taken the lead, proving it is willing to defy Washington to secure its eastern flank. But to pay the price for this defiance, they have chosen the most controversial path in modern financial history. This leads us to the most explosive question of all. Where is this money coming from? Euro 210 billion is an astronomical sum, and neither Germany nor France currently has the surplus budget to write a check of that magnitude. This is where the story turns into a high-stakes financial thriller. The money, in essence, belongs to Russia. When the war began, Western nations froze approximately $300 billion in Russian central bank assets. The vast majority of these funds are sitting in Europe, specifically within the Euroclear clearinghouse in Belgium. The plan devised by Germany and the G7 is to use the massive interest and profits generated by these frozen assets to leverage a loan for Ukraine. In plain English, Europe is using Russia's own money as collateral to buy weapons for Ukraine to use against Russia. For Vladimir Putin, this is the ultimate humiliation. The Kremlin has already labeled this move the theft of the century. For a long time, Germany hesitated. Berlin feared that tampering with sovereign assets would shatter global trust in the euro and the Western financial system, prompting nations like China and Saudi Arabia to pull their money out of Europe. But the fear of a Trump presidency has altered Germany's calculus. The threat of a Russian victory now outweighs the risk of financial reputation damage. The genius and danger of this mechanism is that Ukraine gets the cash immediately, while the repayment of the loan is funded over the next 30 to 40 years by the profits from Russia's frozen assets. Ukraine doesn't pay it back. Russia indirectly funds its own adversary. While it sounds brilliant, the plan is packed with legal and economic gunpowder. If Russia retaliates by seizing Western assets still trapped within its borders, the economic blowback on European companies will be severe. Yet Germany is given the green light. This signals that Europe has entered the next phase of total economic war. They have burned their boats. There is no turning back. And the impact of this decision is about to crash directly into German domestic politics. Looking at the internal state of Germany right now, no analyst would have predicted such a bold international move. The German political system is fracturing. Olaf Scholz's traffic light coalition has disintegrated, and the country is heading towards snap elections. Economically, Germany has regained the unwanted title of the sick man of Europe. Industrial giants like Volkswagen are threatening factory closures and mass layoffs, something previously unthinkable. Energy prices remain sky-high, the public is restless, and right-wing parties like the AfD, which oppose the war in Ukraine, are surging in the polls. In this climate, backing a massive loan for Ukraine looks like political suicide for Scholz. So, why do it? The answer is fear. The German establishment, regardless of party lines, understands one terrifying truth. If Ukraine falls, the German economy is next. Germany's post-war prosperity was built on two pillars: cheap Russian gas and UC Garrity in Eastern Europe. The gas is gone forever. If the security architecture collapses too, the German industrial model faces extinction. Scholz is making this gamble because he believes history might forgive a chancellor who presided over a recession, but it will never forgive the chancellor who handed Europe over to Putin. However, the German voter is not buying this logic. They are asking a simple question. If there is no money for our crumbling schools, our hospitals, and our infrastructure, where are these billions for Ukraine coming from? Donald Trump's victory has emboldened forces within Germany that demand a Germany-first approach. Scholz's decision is deepening the divide within his own country. On one side are those who see stopping Russia as an existential necessity. On the other are those who claim, this is not our war. Despite the chaos at home, Berlin signed the deal in Brussels. It is a desperate attempt to keep Europe united before the Trump administration takes power and potentially splinters the alliance. But is it a gamble that can pay off? We now stand at a precipice, looking into a future filled with fog and danger. Germany's decision and the EU's 210 billion euros plan have set the battlefield for 2025. In the coming weeks, as this money begins to move, we will see Russia's reaction. The Kremlin has already warned that its response will be painful. Intelligence experts predict Russia may escalate hybrid warfare, sabotaging undersea data cables, launching massive cyber attacks, and funding political instability within Europe. Simultaneously, Donald Trump will enter the White House on January 20th. How will he react when he realizes Europe has effectively bypassed his peace initiative before it could even begin? Will Trump, in anger, reduce American support for NATO? Or will he accept this as Europe finally taking responsibility for its own defense? These questions remain unanswered. But one thing is certain. Germany and the EU have accepted that the old world, where America was the protector and Europe the follower, is dead. Europe must now stand on its own 2 feet, no matter how shaky they may be. This loan is not just about saving Ukraine. It is about saving the very idea of the European Union. If they allow Ukraine to fail now, no European nation feels safe. The coming winter and the year 2025 are shaping up to be the most difficult in modern European history. Caught in a triangle between a relentless Russian military, an unpredictable American president, and a collapsing domestic economy, Europe is fighting for its life. This 210 billion euros plan will either be the shield that saves the continent or the weight that drags it into a deeper crisis. The players have made their moves. The die is cast. Now, the world holds its breath, waiting for the outcome. Because whoever wins this economic and geopolitical showdown will redraw the map of the world forever.